Investors Club, and this is something where I went to an investor club, and this is part of asset protection. I'll talk to you guys about that. Went to an investor club. There was this investor. There's an investor club in Detroit, Michigan. I live in Detroit, so if I go to an investor club, it'll be in Detroit. I don't attend any investor clubs anywhere else. But I don't go to investor clubs anymore because, half of them don't even know what they're doing. But the thing is, I went to an investor club. It's an investor club that was called Dollars. And they own, in order to be a part of this investment club, you had to own or do at least 10 real estate transactions. And when I walked into that investor club, they immediately stopped me at the door and said, hey, we can't let you in here because you have to have done at least 10 real estate transactions. And I said, well, I have. And they said, well, okay, we'll let you in this week, but next week if you come back, or next month when you come back, you have to actually show us physical proof that you've done 10 transactions. I said, okay, that's fine, that's not a big deal. And they figured because I'm the younger guy, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, that they were like, you can't come in. And that was a requirement. And I had read that before I got there. So what ended up happening was I sat down in this investor club, and they had this panel, these three investors, these older investors that have been doing it for years. And one of the investors, they asked the investors, what are one of the biggest mistakes you've ever made in real estate? And that you'll never make again, that you can tell us what to do. And one of the ladies said, she said, you know what, I had a portfolio of real estate of over 30 units. And man, I was doing extremely well. I was cash flowing like crazy. And one day somebody fell down in one of my properties. And I had every single one of my properties in my personal name. And because of that one person falling down, I lost everything. And while I was listening to that story, I'm like, it took you 30 properties, to realize that you had to do asset protection. You built a portfolio of 30 properties before you thought about consulting a lawyer or an attorney. And I'm like, where did you guys learn this stuff? As soon as I heard that, I'm like, I'll never come back here. If she had learned that lesson like that, I'm like, man, it's like, where was the person that you could call on to say, hey, what do I need to do when I start buying these properties as far as protecting this stuff? And she didn't have anybody. And it was like, that was one of the first things that, I sat in a trading like this, that was one of the first things that I learned, like you guys are learning today. How do you protect your assets? And I was like, I was amazed. I'm like, you built a portfolio of 30 properties, and you were doing extremely well, and you let it all go because you didn't learn that? I was like, I couldn't believe it. There's a lot of investors out there. The investor clubs, I like them for one thing, for finding a database of investors in the marketplace, but that's about it. I don't take any advice from those guys because those guys are the ones that, most of them don't know what they're doing. There's a few that do, but the majority of them are like, man, they don't know what they're doing. And one of the things is with that anonymity, it keeps you from getting that resident to know who you are. So that way, the resident, whenever they move into a house, if they know your name and they know where you live, that sort of thing, they think because you own that property that they live in, that you are the richest person in America. Okay? And if anything goes wrong, guess what? They're gonna call an attorney to see whether or not they can go out and sue you. And that making sure that your information is anonymous is extremely, extremely important. Okay? Now, the next bit of information as far as property management goes, I want to see what their ratio as far as the number of units they have to employees in the office. That's important as well. The number of units that they have to employees in the office. If they manage 100 units and have 2 people in the office, hang up the phone. Okay? I usually like to see an employee, a minimum of 1 employee for 30 properties. Okay? If they have 300 properties, they should have at a minimum 10 employees. And usually that should be 10 full-time employees, and then they might have some part-time individuals that are responsible for managing their properties, that sort of thing. That doesn't include like the maintenance department and that sort of thing. I think that's maintenance is sort of separate, but just for the management side, all the paperwork, all the collection of rents, all that stuff, that's where that 30 units in one person comes in. With the maintenance side, I like to have a property management company that has some type of maintenance. department as well, because it's something where you can get your rehabs, when a resident leaves, you have to do a unit turnover. And getting those unit turnovers done at cost, extremely important. Where you're able to go in and get it done at cost, meaning it doesn't cost you a whole heck of a lot to do it. That keeps your cash flow coming in, and you're able to get the unit turnover done at cost and quickly is very important. So I like to have a property management company that has a good maintenance department and can get the rehabs done and out. I usually ask them, based on your maintenance department's experience, what's the typical turnover time period for a unit? Okay, because it's important. If my property goes vacant and I need to replace another tenant, I need to have somebody that comes in as soon as possible. Those are just a few things as far as property management company goes. There's quite a few others as far as details that you're going to want to do, but that'll get you started as far as finding some of the right types of people and that sort of thing. One of the things I want to talk to you guys about next is I mentioned to you all that we're going to do the land contract, okay? And that sort of thing. Now, I just talked to you guys about property management companies. Those are very important as far as building your cash flow in this business, okay? And one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is eliminate any financial tumors that you have, okay? And the financial tumor of passive income equal to zero is something that is vitally important, that if you have to leave here with a game plan over the next 6 to 12 months to eliminate that financial tumor of zero passive income. And I was actually talking to an investor. Are you recording this, sir?
Is that okay?
You can't record that.
I'll turn it off immediately.